Well, I like that. From a swimming pool to a pond, and we're going to be talking more about artful transformations of gardening. Right now, I'm joined by Chris Smart, and it's great to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Chris is with Solstice Garden Expressions in Dripping Springs. Quick word about Solstice Garden Expressions.
It's kind of my baby. It's an outdoor art gallery and native and adapted plant nursery. 2 acres of groomed trails and gardens, so I hope people can come and see.
All right, well, I love the idea of art in the garden, and you've brought a wonderful assortment of different things. Our focus here, though, is on helping people kind of express themselves in the garden inexpensively.
Yes. One of the things I love that you mentioned is how, in my mind, art and plants and nature can come together. And some people think, well, it can only be real expensive sculpture, and those can be wonderful in a garden.
Sure.
But in my mind, some of the best things you can do are sitting right in your backyard, or maybe in your pantry, or in the garage.
Right.
Just objects that in and of themselves are nothing, but you put them together and all of a sudden you have this little point of color or something that you don't need to water.
Right.
That looks great and makes a little dark point of your garden come to life.
Yeah, or, to serve as a focal point. That's one of the great things about art in the garden. It can draw your eye to a particular area.
I love it for the use of, for that, to bring your eye to a certain area or bring it up if you want people to see, a vista or the sky and how it plays against a silhouetted plant. It's wonderful for that.
Okay, well, you, and in the gardens that you work with and also in the gardens that you actually transform, there are lots of different things that you have created for clients as well as family and friends.
This is correct.
They include such things as tree amoebas.
Yes. Well, like all artists, I take my form into many different ways.
Right.
Concrete is one of my main mediums.
Okay.
And the beautiful thing about it is that it's very versatile. And I was playing with some CDs that my kids were throwing out, and I was looking at how the light plays off of them in these cool kind of arrays.
Right.
And for some reason, I saw this tree amoeba idea, and I created it, and now it lives in a lovely home on 49th Street here in Austin.
Okay, so tree amoebas, concrete bears, other kinds of creations. I love the concrete bears, by the way.
Well, thank you. Yeah, one of the things that I think any artist does is try to explore how many different ways can you apply your medium. And the concrete bears that you might see a picture of here go together like one of those 3D jigsaw puzzles, and a little heavier though. All put together, these guys are over 1,000 pounds.
Yeah, these are bears that would be staying put.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but lots of wonderful examples of different kinds of things that people can create themselves or assemble. And you've brought some things into the studio as well. We're going to show some of these things. There's a little assembly over here with featuring a garden gnome.
Yes.
Standing in front of one of my favorite things to keep an eye out for whenever I'm in the hill country are beautiful cedar trunks.
One of my favorite things, and I incorporate a lot into my art, are cedar trunks, and sometimes they're just wonderful alone. They are sculptural in and of themselves.
Absolutely.
We were speaking earlier, sometimes they're just, they're actually already sculptures of people and objects already in them. And then sometimes you can work from that to build something for your space. The example you have here, if you took away the gnome and the gnome door, which I do those as kind of a fun object for people to play with in the garden, you have a beautiful little sculptural piece of wood with a nice calathus there to give it a little color. Then you want to get a little whimsical with your yard. You nestle in that gnome door and add a silly little gnome, and all of a sudden you've got something that really has a lot of personality, maybe a little kitschy, but super fun.
Yeah, and Austin is open to kitsch.
Yeah.
We embrace the weird and the kitschy in this town.
And I like to help people along on that sometimes.
That's great. You move from kitschy to something that looks extremely elegant to my eye, which is your bird bath. And this is, to me, really remarkable. And this is something that, again, you've created.
Yes, sir. Well, because I'm a gardener as well as an artist, and I like to bring together the two, one obvious form to work with is the bird bath, and also fountains. But I love bird baths because they don't require much water. They bring wildlife. And if you look at this one, for example, I brought the whimsy in with the blue and kind of the swirl pattern, but I left the bottom glass with the idea that you could uplight it and get this nice, pretty blue shimmer in the water at night.
Ooh, that sounds really lovely. I'd love to see that enacted with that particular piece. And again, just a really lovely, elegant way to kind of create a centerpiece in the garden. Bird baths are perfect for that.
One of my favorite ways to do it.
Right behind that, we have a couple of different things, but I love these glass flowers that you've created.
Yeah, what I actually brought a couple things in to kind of show what that really is. We were talking a minute ago about how kind of simple objects can sometimes become something very beautiful. These are just some old pieces of glass that I got for different. This actually came out of a bathroom that we took the light chandelier out.
All right.
It's just a cover. You add those two pieces together, and you can already see how a sculptural form begins to emerge.
Right.
Add a little, topper of another piece of colored glass, and you have yourself a little garden sculpture.
Right.
And
you can use silicone to adhere these, right?
yeah, when you work with glass, there are a lot of things that don't work because glass isn't porous, and most glues need it. But silicone is wonderful for that.
Yeah.
And working with glass, it's my high recommendation.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
And the flower piece you see here is just an example of how you can take that and kind of build on this idea and make something that's gorgeous.
Yeah, I think it's very cool. And here's something that's extremely simple and elegant. And I love stacked stones. When I see them, I'm always doing that.
Yes.
And I'm an avid stone collector. So this is something that just really appeals to me.
That makes me happy because I find stones to be the most natural and most beautiful thing that we see every day.
Right.
And I love rock work. But sometimes it's as simple as, these three stones in and of themselves are beautiful. But when they're taken apart, you can restack them and even in different orders, and you get yourself one culture, they're called many things, but a cairn.
Right.
And what an elegant little addition to a little Zen garden or a small, even on like a porch as a centerpiece to a table.
Right. And again, the gardens that you work in abound with these kinds of things. I wanted to turn our attention. You have this is kind of totemic in a way.
Yes. And I believe there's a picture also I work in totems quite a lot, and there's some larger versions of this. But this was a simple idea that I had. I found this really beautiful candle holder that you see as the base for this lady's head. And I don't know, it just felt like it needed something, and to me, and I was going for a kind of Asian type feel to kind of be a talisman or taliswoman type piece to guard my garden.
Okay.
And so was born.
All right. Well, I love the incorporation of kind of the whimsy and the art itself. You've done this in so many different ways. And one of the ways that I think that people can think about this is that they can use the art to create particular spaces in the garden, like rooms, right?
Absolutely. And I think there's also a great shot of a patron's house that I've done a fire pit for. And another example of using something that's artistic and sometimes functional art is just as beautiful as esoteric art, and use that piece to build a whole room or something that sets a specific part of your yard into an area that relaxing, but also adds to the overall essence of your landscape.
Right. Well, again, the business is Solstice Garden Expressions in Dripping Springs. Chris, it's been a pleasure visiting with you. I hope you get a lot of visitors. I think you will. Keep the bears happy, okay?
I will keep the bears happy, and thank you so much for having me on the program.
Well, take care. And coming up next is our friend Daphne.